For meeting of the Shenandoah County School Board to order at 6:30. Dr. Shepherd, do you have a recommendation to go into closed session, please?
I do. I recommend the School Board of Shenandoah County convene a closed meeting under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act in order to discuss and consider several personnel matters involving the assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salary, discipline, or resignation of several employees of the Shenandoah County Public Schools under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A14. And I recommend the School Board of Shenandoah County convene a closed meeting under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act for the purposes of discussing and considering several student matters involving the omission, discipline, or the disclosure of information contained in a scholastic record of students in the Shenandoah County Public Schools under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A2.
Thank you. Do you hear a motion to that effect, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move that the School Board of Shenandoah County convene a closed meeting under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act in order to discuss and consider several personnel matters involving the assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salary, discipline, or resignation of several employees of the Shenandoah County Public Schools under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A14. Part of that, right? And to discuss and consider several student matters involving admission, discipline, or the disclosure of information contained in the scholastic record of students in the Shenandoah County Public Schools under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A2.
Thank you, Mr. Barlow. Do you hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Gutschall. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried by a 6-0 vote. We will be hopefully back in the boardroom by 7 p.m.
Mr. Taylor, can you get me a
To call the Shenandoah County School Board for the December meeting back in order. Do I hear a motion to reconvene in open session, please?
I move to reconvene in open session.
Thank you, Mr. Gutschall. Do I hear a second?
A second.
Second by Ms. Rutz. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried by a 6-0 vote. The Shenandoah County School Board hereby certifies by roll call vote that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements of Virginia law were discussed in closed meeting to which the certification resolution applies. And second, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening in closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the Shenandoah County School Board. Each member responds, "I so certified," when called upon by our good clerk, Ms. Jett.
Ms. Walsh? I'm sorry. What was, I so certify? Sorry.
Do
I
you-
so certify. I so
Ms.
certify.
Walsh, do you want me to reread that
No,
again?
no. I got it. I so certify. Mr.
Continue.
Mr. Betchall?
I so certify.
Mr. Barlow?
I so certify.
Ms. Rooks?
I so certify.
Mr. Keller?
I so certify.
And Mr. Housel?
I so certified. The invocation today and the pledge will be led by Mr. Keller, but on the screen we lost 3 former employees. We'll get their names up momentarily. Okay, Miss Virginia Reinhardt was an instructional aide for 30 years, and Miss Ruth Jones taught elementary for 35 years in the Southern Campus. And Miss Rutz, you want to speak to the next one, please?
The last one with the sad heart is Miss Audrey Keeler. Miss Keeler is or was a she was a bright spot, and I met her in 1986, 85, as an 8th grader at Strasburg High School, and she taught gym, and she was fun, and she was a firecracker. And Strasburg alumni are mourning her passing. She is one of the reasons why this building and why folks such as myself run for this position, because folks like Audrey Keeler made such an impact. She'll leave a spot that will be very hard to replace, and most of us kept up with her through the years, and even in the late years. So my heart goes out to her family.
Thank you, Ms. Rutz. Let's have a moment of silence for these fine former employees. A moment of silence, please. Thank you. Mr. Keller.
Yes, let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity to come together as a group of people to support our students, teachers, parents, and all those tasked with educating our youth. Give us the wisdom to make decisions that enhance those in our care. Help us to value each member of our community, from smallest to biggest, and to recognize the contributions and needs of all. Be with us as we all try to pursue excellence, and help us realize that while our methods, strategies, and philosophies may differ, our goals are often united. These things we pray. Amen.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Andrew. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
I so move.
Motion made by Mr. Barlow. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Second by Ms. Rutz. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried by 6-0 vote. Dr. Shepherd, recognitions for this evening.
Yes, so the first recognition is honoring our outgoing school board members. It has been my pleasure and privilege to work with the 3 outgoing school board members. Tonight, we recognize Ms. Cynthia Walsh, who has 8 years of service on the Shenandoah County School Board. One of those years was as a vice chair and 1 year as a chair. Mr. Marty Helsley has 4 years of service, 2 years as chair, and Mr. Andrew Keller, 4 years of service. We are grateful for their service and their support and the positive impact that they've had on our students here in Shenandoah County. So thank you so much, and if the 3 of you will gather over here, we want to take a picture and we have a brief gift, a small gift.
In the middle now. Oh, jeez.
It's a weapon. It's not as pointy as teachers in here, though. Those are dangerous.
Thank you.
Our next recognition is Mr. Nick Zimmerman. He is the family consumer science teacher at Central High School, and he will be talking about his experience as a Fulbright Hayes Study Abroad program.
Good evening. Thank you all for the opportunity to present to you all this evening. I'm going to try and not take up too much of your time. Dr. Shepherd and members of the school board, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to present to you all this evening. As I was one individual who was very lucky to be selected to go with 9 colleagues and 2 staff members from Virginia Tech this summer for globalization, business skills, diversity awareness, and entrepreneurship workforce development in Zambia. And this was a partnership of approximately $100,000 that was awarded as a Fulbright Hayes Scholarship between Virginia Tech and Victoria Falls University in Zambia. As Dr. Shepherd said, I am Nicholas Zimmerman. I do teach family and consumer sciences at Central High School. During the trip, I was known as the sunburnt zebra, and I'm sure you can determine tonight why that name probably came to be. A brief history on Zambia. Zambia is a landlocked country in the southern part of the continent of Africa. The Zambezi River runs through the country of Zambia and is one of the longest and largest rivers in the world. The area spans 290,000 square miles, roughly the size of Texas, and the population is 19.4 million people, with over 1/3 of that population being youth. There are 73 different ethnic groups spread throughout the country, including all races, and there are 7 official languages, but English is widely spoken as the official language of business, government, and education. Christianity is the dominant religion, but there are other religions that are practiced, such as Islam, Hindu, and indigenous belief systems. The currency is the kwacha, which averages $1 to 18.5 kwacha. Infrastructure varies from modern homes to brick structures to thatched mud or grass homes, as well as others. The country was colonized by the British until 1964 when they gained their independence. Overall, the country has a 28% poverty rate. The primary industries of Zambia are energy, copper mining, agriculture, and hospitality and tourism. There we go. In front of you is a brief outline of the schedule of events that occurred over the 4 weeks of our time in Zambia. Over the 4 weeks, you can see from June the 5th to July the 4th, it was a lot of fun flying home on July the 4th. We spent a wide variety of experiences in a variety of sectors. You will see on the screen that we spent time in business and industry. We spent time in educational settings. We met with government officials and other agencies and had the opportunity to be a part of a culture that is outside of our own. Our team was comprised of two professors from Virginia Tech, 10 CTE teachers representing family and consumer sciences, business, IT, marketing, and within family and consumer sciences, 2 culinary teachers. In addition, we were accompanied by 2 CTE administrators, including a work-based learning specialist and a CTE center principal. Victoria Falls University was our host university, and I want to take just a moment to draw your attention to the vision, mission, and values of Victoria Falls University and ask you to reflect on the analysis you may make between their vision, mission, and values and Shenandoah County Public Schools' mission, vision, and beliefs. You'll see a lot of similarities. Victoria Falls University, like many other small colleges and universities faced in the United States throughout our time during COVID, experienced a significant decrease in student enrollment, along with limited staffing. Along with education being a central component of the African culture, many cultural experiences were experienced by my colleagues and I during our time in Africa. Education at the secondary level just became free in January of 2022. You heard that correct, 2022. 30,000 teachers were hired in the year 2022, and I couldn't help but think what Ms. Hodges would think about hiring 30,000 teachers right now. Public schools cannot request outside funding. Students test at grades 7, 9, and 12, similarly to our standards-based testing, and students that do not pass do not move forward and do not graduate. 98% of students complete primary school in grades 1 through 7, but only 67% move on to secondary education. Only 55% actually graduate from high school. Students have opportunities to re-enter school if they don't pass classes later in life and can even come back to their secondary education during their adult life. Teacher pay ranges between $38 a month and $350 a month for most teachers. While in Africa, we had the opportunity to see the Big Five, including the elephant, the lion, the Cape buffalo, the white rhino, and even the leopard. In front of you on the screen, you'll see 3 different cultural experiences that we had that were significant to my life. To the far left, you will see a church that was in a village that we attended. The pews are found as bricks, and there is no roof that is on the top of that religious facility. In the middle, you'll see a primary form of income for many of the folks that live in Zambia, which is woodworking that they sell to tourists that come to see Victoria Falls as a means of income for their family. And then to the far right, you'll see children who dance and sing for tourists that come in the area for donations so that they can take that money home and provide for their families. CTE learning in Africa was somewhat similar, yet so different to what we experience in the United States. CTE, also known as TVET over there, with a focus on technical education, focused on ag, computer, FCS, and entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is a focus throughout elementary all the way up through secondary education. Teachers could be found in class sizes of 50 to 75 students on average. No aides, no assistants, with limited resources available and oftentimes working from 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the morning to 6 p.m. at night, hosting an AM and a PM shift similar to what we experience or have at Triplet Tech. Both private and public schools can be found, and blended schools with funding can be found as well. Teachers can be found tired and fatigued and stressed, just like they are in the United States, but with very different reasons. You'll notice in the picture in front of you that the classroom size, again, is very small, and there are a lot of areas of growth and improvement in the learning environment for the students. Regarding immersion experiences that we had while in Africa, you'll see me there jumping from the Victoria Falls Bridge 360 feet down and back up. It was an opportunity of a lifetime, but it was an experience to see the natural beauty that Zambia and Victoria Falls provided, similarly to what we take for granted here in our local area with the Shenandoah Valley. Food could be found with rice, beans, and shima that we ate almost daily. And the Victoria Falls, if you didn't know it already, is one of the 7 natural wonders of our world. The language spoken in Zambia oftentimes could be found as Chitonga. And while we were there, we learned from our professor from Virginia Tech, who was the prince of the Mukuni village, and his brother is currently the king of the Mukuni village, just how much the culture truly is different from what we're used to in the United States. Before we left, our impact was known in the community. We purchased items for schools for students that were in need, and the culture influenced us just as much as we influenced them. The question remaining for us as we return home was, how can we positively impact them based off of what we are blessed with in the United States without changing their culture moving forward? And lastly, I would leave you with a few thank yous. I would like to thank you all, the School Board of Shenandoah County Public Schools, for providing me the opportunity to be employed with your school division. Had I not had the opportunity of employment with you all, I would not have been eligible to attend this learning opportunity to be able to have the experience of a lifetime. I would also like to thank the 2022-2023 Central High School Administrative Team, Ms. Wurtzel, Mr. Bruffman, Mr. Rittenauer, and Ms. Beretsky, for encouraging me to go out of my comfort zone to apply for this opportunity. And last but certainly not least are the Gov School teachers and Ms. Freem. As many of you may or may not know, I had the opportunity to go to governor's school when I was in high school. I am not an environmentally friendly, conscious, or well-known person, but I have learned to respect that as a diversity of viewpoints and understanding that not everybody thinks, feels, or acts the same way I do when it comes to education. The next adventure that I may find awaits that I'm not quite sure of yet. I do want to go back, but I want to thank you all for your time this evening and allowing me to present a little bit to you about my experiences. And in Chitonga, we would say, Twalumba Kapati, or thank you very much. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for Nick?
What was your favorite part of the trip?
I heard somebody mumble on under their breath, the shopping. Shopping was a lot of fun because we really got to see firsthand. We have a lot of things in America that we buy from other countries, and so to see firsthand these people that are making a lot of the things that we receive was really cool. But to see the students' faces, I think, was the most rewarding experience for me. Many of them have never seen a person that looks like me. And so for them to have that experience for the first time, we take for granted the diversity that we have within our school division a lot of times. And so for me to be able to be on the other side of that, I think was really cool.
Very good.
Anything else? Well, Nick, your experience sharing it and being in the classroom with our kids, you're a valuable part of our staff here in our county, whatever. And it's amazing that you had that experience. And we wish you well, whatever endeavor, but hopefully you will retire here. Okay, moving on. Do we hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
No. Public comment.
Oh, I'm ahead. Thank you, Ms. Walsh, for correcting me. The Shenandoah County School Board welcomes public comment during most regular meetings and during public meetings. School board members do not respond to the public comments during the meeting or hearing. Each speaker may speak up to 3 minutes. The board generally allows 30 minutes for public comments on agenda and non-agenda items. If there's a large number of speakers, we may reduce the time. All comments should address a matter related to Shenandoah County Public Schools. Complaints regarding division employees should be directed to the school principal or the appropriate school division official. The school board expects each speaker to be courteous, modeling for our students how one can respectfully disagree with other views. Speakers will address their comments to the entire school board and not to one individual board member, to the superintendent, to a staff member, or to the audience. Speakers will not engage in public or personal attacks. Okay, you were asked to sign when you enter the room, and our first speaker is the chairperson of the Shenandoah Board of Supervisors, Carl Ralston.
I'm just Carl Ralston tonight, not chairperson.
I just put your position in front. Yes,
Thank
sir.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the school board, Dr. Shepard. We've gone through another election cycle, and now we're rotating out and having new members come on the board, and some of you going away. I'm going to steal a sentiment from Supervisor Taylor from our supervisor meeting last Tuesday. We may not always agree on things. We may be passionate about things that are different than what you're passionate about. But the one thing that you all share in common is a willingness to serve. And I thank you for that. And it's a willingness to serve, to contribute to your community, to the kids in this county. And it is not easy. And it should be recognized that it isn't easy. But I do appreciate it. And all of you going off, thank you so much for your time served. You guys staying on with the new members, thank you for your time served. And that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Next speaker is Ms. Katie Goswine. Pastor.
I thank you for your time, Chairman Helsley and the board and Superintendent. On behalf of Spring Forward and Bob and Jane Perry and all of our tutors and children, thank you. Thank you for your personal support of the program that we've been able to have at Zion Lutheran Church. For you, a poem, Invictus. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my heady head is bloody but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears loom but the horrors of shame, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how strait the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. Is an amazing poem about a man who was recovering from the amputation of a leg and how he had experienced moments of hell on earth, and then is brought around to Matthew chapter 7, verse 14, and that idea of the straight gate and staying focused. Ms. Walsh, Mr. Keller, Mr. Helsley, thank you for your service. Thank you for your faithfulness, for your love of our community, our county, our children, our schools, and their staffs. For you, the three of you, a quote from Eleanor Roosevelt: "You have to accept whatever comes, and the only important thing is that you meet it with courage and with the best that you have to give." It has been my honor over these past years throughout COVID. To sit and watch you with grace and steadfast love for your service to our community, to undergo shameful ways of people speaking, long, arduous meetings, hundreds of people filling this room, and you handled it all with grace and great faithfulness. So thank you for your service. And for Ms. Rutz, Mr. Gutschall, Mr. Barlow, my prayers go with you. May God give you the same courage and steadfastness for the job ahead of you as you take the reins and move forward as continuing to be leaders in our community. Know that you have our support and our prayers. Thank you.
Thank you for your kind words.
Thank you.
Does anyone else like to speak that did not sign up?
I was kind of hoping to go last. I don't know if I am.
Okay, Dan?
My name's Dan Walsh, 211 Manor Drive in Edinburgh. That's maybe more of a Board of Supervisors thing. But anyway, when my wife was elected to this board in 2015, I was running an organization called Parents Alliance for Strong Schools, or PASS, focused on adequate funding for SCPS. I met with Chairman Rick Coons, and we agreed that me advocating anything before a board that included my wife was unseemly, and we agreed that I wouldn't advocate before this board during her time. However, PASS has gone dormant, school funding issues aren't what they used to be, and I'm not here to advocate anything, so I'm going to go ahead and set that agreement aside. The last time I spoke before this board was in December of 2015, and I was here to thank and congratulate Kathy Holsinger for her 8 years of service. Once again, I'm here to thank and congratulate the D3 school board member for her 8 years of service, although this time it's a little different, as you can imagine. I guess this all started in 2005 when Cindy decided to give up her job in the Bush administration, move to the county where her parents retired, and be a stay-at-home mom. It turned out she wasn't very good at staying home. She joined the Robinson PTO, soon became president of it. Later, she was recruited to be the executive director of the Shenandoah Education Foundation, which she still is. Initially as volunteer, they wanted to pay her. She's never accepted pay from them. Very few people understand all the demands on a school board member, though I know you all do. There's local and regional committee meetings, VSBA, calls with constituents, meetings with the superintendent, etc. Cindy has missed some of our kids' soccer games and concerts. In fact, we're missing one tonight. And a lot of delivery pizza has been consumed on nights when you had school board meetings, because I'm not much of a cook. I could talk about her legacy, but I have 3 items that say more about her legacy than anything I could say. These are thank you notes. 1 from the teachers and staff at W.W. Robinson, 1 from Peter Muhlenberg, and 1 from Central. Cindy, the teachers wanted to thank you for your work on behalf of teachers, education, and children. I should mention there was no involvement by the administration of this, no official sanction. It was just teachers giving each other the chance to express their gratitude. And I think it's gratitude for being their most vocal cheerleader, their most sort of passionate advocate, and sometimes a sympathetic ear and a shoulder to cry on. So let me give these to you real quick. And that's not to say that others haven't filled those roles as well. It's just no one's done it as long or as consistently. I guess I'll close with this. You know, several times during your service, you had to choose between doing the right thing and doing what you considered to be the right thing and doing the popular thing. In those cases, you always followed your conscience. That's how representative democracy works. We lost some friends over it, some light vandalism to our home, but I think you'll sleep better for the rest of your life knowing that. The legendary Republican Congressman Henry Hyde used to speak to incoming freshmen. One thing he'd say is, let me put the matter plainly. If you are here simply as a tote board registering the current state of opinion in your district, you are not well serving either your constituents or the Congress of the United States well. Indeed, I feel obliged to put the matter more sharply still. If you don't know the principle or the policy for which you are willing to lose your office, then you are going to do damage here. More people should hear that speech. I apologize for being over time. I'll try and go quickly. I'm shortly going to go home, and for the 96th and last time, I'll get the kids to bed and wait for you to be done with your monthly school board meeting. I've been proud of your service, but I'm gratified that it's coming to an end. I know you'll still be involved. You still run the Education Foundation, and we will always be there for the kids, even when our kids have moved on. St. Paul wrote his second letter to Timothy near the end of his life, and near the end of the epistle he says, "I have fought the good fight, I have finished my course, I have kept the faith." I'm not equating you with St. Paul, but that should resonate with you today, and you, Mr. Helsley, and you, Mr. Keller. I wish I had more time to thank you for your service as well. Anyway, thanks for your indulgence, and thanks for letting me speak.
Anyone else would like to speak?
Good evening. I hope everyone is well. Elected school board members, Superintendent Dr. Melody Shepard, thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. First, I'd like to congratulate all the teams and individuals on their postseason achievements and accomplishments. Second, I would like to wish all the winter athletes good luck in the upcoming months. Third, I'd like to thank the 3 members that will be leaving the school board for their time served. Thank you. Fourth, I'd like to see the future school system somehow get back to the basic 3 R's, reading, writing, and arithmetic. I feel that taking SOLs and other testing, we have lost the basic skills in the school system. I don't know where you would fit this in, but I feel it is very important in everyday life. I'm saying I'm not perfect and far from it, especially in public speaking, as you know, but I think this needs to be addressed. Lastly, I would like to wish everyone a safe and happy and wonderful holiday. Thank you. I'd like to waive the rest of my time to my good friend Steve Heisman, if that's suitable from the board, if that's okay.
Go ahead.
School board members, Dr. Melody Shepard, thanks for listening to the voice of the people this evening. Weekly religious education deserves much praise and glory as they are moving along steadily with 100 students participating in the program. Many thanks to all involved in making this program a success. To school board members finishing this term this year, thank you for your time and service. To the new school board members, congratulations on your election win. You're joining a powerful team in leadership and focus on student education, safety, and teamwork. Good luck to my grandson, Trey Heisman, of course it's not mine, as he will be playing in the Valley All-Star football game this Saturday at Bridgewater College, representing the Generals and the Southern campus. His family and school is very proud of him and his accomplishments. And lastly, I'd like to wish a Merry Christmas to all the students, staff, and employees of Shenandoah County School System as we remember the real reason for the season, and a Happy New Year. Sincerely, Stephen R. Heisman, District 2.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, now we'll go to a consent agenda. Do we hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move as presented.
Motion made by Ms. Russ. Do I hear a second?
Second?
Second by Mr. Barlow. Discussion? I will discuss 3-2. And for the audience, that's approving the minutes of our last school board meeting. I'm going to confess, I looked at those minutes for the very first time prior to this meeting. And let me tell you why I did. Because in Spotsylvania County, the school board is in disarray. Let me put it mildly. They have not approved the minutes for months. And according to my source, there's been changes done, what actually occurred at the meetings. So we are blessed here in Shenandoah County with the leadership that we have. And I'm going to speak to a little bit more of that later. But this is, I was just amazed. And so, for our minutes that's been kept and recorded by Ms. Jeff and over the years, I just want to bring that attention to the audience. We are blessed with our leadership here. and we need to keep this leadership in place. Okay, all those in favor of the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried by a 6-0 vote. Information agenda. They're already coming up. All in Virginia. Ms. Proctor and Mr. Henson, the floor is yours.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Shepard, thank you for giving us the opportunity to tell you a little bit about All in Virginia that was initiated this year. All in Virginia began with the House and Senate Bill 6001 that gave a significant investment into public education, and it really was for the Virginia Literacy Act, learning loss, and then to combat the chronic absenteeism that schools are facing. One thing that the governor did say is that he would like for the all-in approach to focus 3.8 on intense tutoring, and then the Virginia Literacy Act along with the chronic absenteeism. As you can see, Shenandoah County received a little bit over $2.1 million for this initiative. Those funds are currently in our special budget, and it's going to be able to be rolled over to the following year also. The state provided multiple learning platforms that school divisions could use. The first was a math platform, Zern, which we are in the process of right now of uploading our students into. That process began back around November. Our uploads began in December, so it hasn't been a fast process, but we are uploading. We have our groups set up in tutoring. We're currently tutoring, and we're going right now without the program, but we're going to implement that as we go. The second program that was brought forward was Ignite. It's a one-to-one tutoring program that a tutor on a Chromebook will tutor a student during school. There was approximately 3,500 licenses that we learned that afterwards that was there. We did not receive any of those licenses as of today. So we have our intent in to use it. However, we don't know if we're going to receive any of those licenses. Since then, the Department of Education has also offered Lexia, which is another online program. Today we had a webinar with Lexia, and I actually completed the paperwork this evening to start our uploads to use this resource in both our elementary and middle schools. Jennifer's going to talk a little bit about how we're using our funds.
So each division had to put forth a plan for the funds that we received, and so you can see on the screen here, we put forth money to the elementary and middle schools to have tutors. Right now at the elementary and middle school we have 10 tutors at each level, and the feedback that we're getting from teachers and from administrators is that it's going really well, and that they're super excited about the opportunity to have tutors. And you can see in the picture there, that's Sandy Hook, and those are some tutors working with some of the students there. We also put money forward for an additional assistant principal at Honey Run Elementary. And then we also put some money towards professional development in the areas of English and math, and specifically in the area of letters for supporting the Virginia Literacy Act, especially at the middle school level. And that has to do with the science of reading and making sure that we're teaching students the way that the state has put forth with the science of reading. Materials also are being purchased for tutors and teachers to provide interventions, and then also we purchased the Remind app for all schools in the division. We had some schools that were already using this app, but it's an easier way for teachers to reach out to families when kids are absent or when something's going on, just reminding different things that are going on. But it also eliminates that language barrier, because a teacher can pick, if they need to send it in another language, they can pick that language and then it sends it to that parent in that language. Any questions?
Two questions. So, the fact that you've had some hiccups in trying to get the programs from these guys to you, is that causing a degradation in the, or are you just very able to get through it?
We've been able to do the tutoring. We were able to get tutors hired right away.
Yeah.
So that part's been positive. As far as the online programs, we're still working through that. But we have things in place. So once we get those, it'll just be like the cherry on top.
And don't add any extra burden to this, but do you have any way of evaluating when this is done, how much improvement has been made versus if it hadn't been done? In other words, what benefit will it have accrued to us?
Yeah, so like at the elementary level, we keep phonics data on our students. We have benchmark data. At the middle school, we have benchmark data. We have IXL data. Any other data you want to? CIP data. Well, that's the benchmark. So, yeah, we have lots of data that we can use to show whether students are growing or not.
So, and we've talked about this before. So, at some point, we'll be able to get some feedback on what this program is. It's always good to go back to something that the legislature and the governor give us and show that it actually has had impact. So it'll be really good to do that. So thanks for that.
Yes.
Other questions?
I want to thank you because I always thank for the practical stuff. The Remind app for everyone. I'm used to using it for musical stuff. You know, the music teachers are great at it. But I'm so happy that they have it at the school level now because at Peter Muhlenberg, Jen Martin sends out a weekly update, which is awesome. I have not once this year had to type into Facebook, does anybody know what dress up day it is? Because we get it through the Remind app. So I really appreciate that the whole school is using it and not just individual teachers. So thank you for doing that. And also just thank you guys for all you do. You do a lot more than people know you do. So appreciate it.
That's Chad, the SOL test has been given, or are being given?
Are being given, yes.
Okay. And they finish up
Currently going on.
next week. And you have initial feedback,
Yes, but each day,
but you don't want it really set down.
yeah, we'll definitely share those results with you. Every day we get an update. We use our CIP, Matt Hurt, disaggregates all of our data for us and gives it to us every morning. So that data goes back out to our principals every day. They see how they're performing. However, our principals know because they know throughout the day how students are doing.
So generally, is it positive?
We have bright spots. We have spots that we're looking at that we're going to need to work on.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you both for what you do for the students. Okay, moving on, information agenda. She's already making her way to the podium. 5.1, Ms. Simon, request to increase the 24 special budget for funds received from the Stronger Connection grant.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. On November 16th of this year, we were awarded nearly $343,000 distributed under the Title IV program, and these additional funds are part of a bipartisan Safer Communities Act, which provided significant funding to state educational agencies to support healthy students. We are providing this information and we'll be requesting appropriation for it. I just wanted to let you know that we would be using this for the reader panels for our exterior doors, the electronic readers and the hardware, and the audible alarm systems with those. Any questions?
What? Okay, moving on to 5.2, request for appropriation for food service grant.
Yes, our food service program applied for and received a grant in the amount of $22,225, and it will be used to support their breakfast program, specifically in the middle and high schools. This will require your appropriation as well. And I did want to add, it's not on the agenda, but we finally received our award notification for the safety grant that we applied for. And of the $250,000, we were awarded $127,638, but we appropriated this at the beginning of the year, so it doesn't need to be appropriated.
Any other questions? Well, this may be the last time. Ms. Stein, you're doing a great job in finances. I don't see how you keep up with it.
Well,
and that's why Dr. Shepard has you on the team, as others who I will speak to a little bit later, but we thank you for your service.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity.
And don't even think about leaving.
Don't worry. Thank you.
All right, moving on. Action items. Do I hear a motion to approve the personnel?
I move to approve the personnel list as presented.
Motion made by Mr. Gutschall. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Second by Ms. Rutz. Roll call vote. Please.
Mr. Barlow,
Aye.
Ms. Walsh,
Yes.
Mr. Fanshawe,
Yes.
Ms. Roots,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
and Mr. Houston.
Yes. Vote, motion carried 6-0. Okay, going on to 6-2. The new program of studies for middle school and revised program that was presented to us at the November meeting. Do I hear a motion? Colleagues?
I move to approve the revised program of studies for the high school and the new program of studies for the middle school for the 2024-2025 school year.
Thank you, Mr. Barlow. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Discussion. Roll call vote.
Mr. Barlow,
Yes.
Ms. Walsh,
Yes.
Mr. Fanshawe,
Yes.
Ms. Roots,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
and Mr. Houston.
Yes. Motion carried by 6-0 vote. 6-3, request to increase the 2024 operating budget and special budget as a result of the General Assembly passing House Bill 6001, the budget bill. Motion.
I move to approve the request to increase the fiscal year 2024 operating budget and special budget as a result of the General Assembly passing House Bill 6001 budget bill.
Thank you. Mr. Gutschall, do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Keller. Discussion? Roll call vote.
Mr. Barlow,
Yes.
Ms. Walsh,
Yes.
Mr. Fanshawe,
Yes.
Ms. Roots,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
and Mr. Houston.
Yes. Motion carried by 6-0 votes. Going on to 6-4. Request to increase the special budget for fiscal 2024 federal and state allocations. Motion.
I move to approve the request to increase the special budget for fiscal year 2024 federal and state allocations.
Motion made by Mr. Keller. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Second by Ms. Rutz. Discussion. Roll call vote.
Mr. Barlow,
Yes.
Ms. Walsh,
Yes.
Mr. Fanshawe,
Yes.
Ms. Roots,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
and Mr. Houston.
Yes. That motion carried by a 6-0 vote. 6-5, request to increase the operating budget as a result of the IRS refund for adjustment abatements made on the account. Do I hear a motion?
I move to approve the request to increase the operational budget as a result of the IRS refund for adjustments, abatements made on the account.
Motion made by Ms. Rutz. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Barlow. Discussion.
What a mess.
Exactly. Back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Is it over?
I hope so.
So, question, the $113,000 plus go into the account with the county, and we'll get, if requested, it may come back to the school board.
Yes, and we plan on using that money to replace some equipment that needs to be replaced for our maintenance department, like mowers, forklift, and such.
Okay. Any other discussion? Roll call vote. Ms. Jett?
Mr. Barlow,
Yes.
Ms. Walsh,
Yes.
Mr. Fanshawe,
Yes.
Ms. Roots,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
and Mr. Houston.
Yes. Motion carried by 6-0 vote. Superintendent monthly reports. Dr. Shepherd, you have any comments?
I do. So every month you'll hear me talking about attendance. Our attendance increased, was up in November 3.5% from last year. And we would like to thank our students and staff and parents for continuing to make attendance a priority. Our schools are working hard to ensure that students want to come to school with fun attendance competitions, school spirit activities, and more. We would like to also congratulate all of our school spelling bee winners. They will compete in the County Bee on January 19th, and I hope to see you there. We are in the middle of our holiday concert season. I have enjoyed attending a number of holiday performances. I've heard songs all the way from Jingle Bells up to Vivaldi. Is that? Yes, and the Nutcracker. Great performances. Our students and staff have done a great job. There are still a few more opportunities before the winter break to enjoy a concert. And then winter sports have kicked off, so good luck to our athletes. And last, the first semester ends on Thursday, December the 21st. Report cards, paper report cards will come home with students on Friday, January the 5th. And then I hope everyone has a safe and happy winter break.
Okay. Question for Dr. Shepherd. I did do a little homework. I saw the ad from Honey Run about coming to school. That was very nice for those young people that participated in that.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, moving on. Board comments. I will like the three that are retiring go last, so I'll just call on the three that will be on the school board in 2024. Ms. Rich.
As we finish up another year and start another one, I wish all of you all a very Merry Christmas. Lots of good thoughts and health. To my three colleagues leaving the board, it's been fun. Always an interesting time. I have grown to appreciate each one of you, even through the contentious topics over the last couple of 2 years. Believe it or not, I'm going to miss a bunch of you. So, Andrew, you've been a great neighbor. And there's a lot of folks in Strasburg that could probably vouch for that, besides me just being up here. But thank you for your service. Thank you for your time. Cindy, as your husband said, it's not an easy job. And you've weathered it well. And you as well, Marty. I appreciate you all. And I wish you the best of luck in whatever you decide to involve yourself with.
Thank you. Mr. Gutschall.
Yeah, just kind of to echo what Brandy said. First off, happy holidays. Of course, thank you to the three, Marty, Cindy, and Andrew, for your service to the school board. Appreciate when we were elected, especially when it kind of relates to me, how you all were willing to help. We had questions or needed advice on something, so really appreciate that. I'm gonna miss you all. I know you all miss us a lot, and like Brandy said, some difficult times over the last 2 years, controversial topics coming up, but I think you all voted with your conscience, and appreciate your service to the school system.
Okay. Mr. Barlow.
Well, before I say farewell to our three colleagues, I do want to do a kind of a year-end summation, which will take a very, very little time. First of all, I do want to point out the biblical imperative that where there is no vision, the people perish. And I think one thing that the superintendent and her team has done is provided a vision for us, which has provided not only new leadership, but a new sense of mission with that vision. And I think that the energy is palpable, and I think it's reflected in the senior staff as well as the teachers throughout the county. And I think that is a feeling that is discernible almost in any of the schools or the staff that you go to. So keep up the great work, and let's keep that vision alive and working down to the very, very grassroots. I do want to thank the three members who are departing. Cindy, you are actually, Dan used the word advocate, and I think he's spot on. You're a great advocate for the system, and your passion for the system comes through, especially in the performing arts, which at some point I may have been a little bit boorish about, but I think your vision is probably the right one there. So I appreciate that. And Marty, your heartland, your agriculture background, your heritage in this community speaks for itself. I know it comes out in the homilies that you give to us, and I listen to those and I take those to heart. I especially admire your personal touch, something I've never had very much in my military career, but I appreciate the way you do that. It's heartwarming to me to see it in action. And Andrew, you've worked with me personally on stuff that we tried to close the gap on, and you were rational, reasonable, and everything you've done was with a touch of humor, class, and wisdom. And I'm going to miss our fellowship, but thank you for what you've done. So I congratulate the three of you on service well done. I'm going to say just a couple words to my colleagues, because we have a few more battles to fight in the years ahead. But I wasn't sure how we would gel, and we have, I think, the three of us have learned to communicate without being overbearing to others, and have learned to listen to each other and work together. I'm impressed with. I've been very impressed with Kyle's wisdom beyond his years, and the fact that he may be soft-spoken doesn't mean he doesn't have convictions, because he does. They're rock solid. And Brandy has taught a lot to me about courage. It's coming from a colonel who's seen some tight spots, but I've seen you courageous, speak truth to power. A lot of people use that phrase and it's a throwaway phrase. Not with you. You speak truth to power. I appreciate your doing that. So I think we have great days ahead, and I know that what you guys have done will spur us on to be better. And again, I use the word, I think Dan used it, or Pastor Geiswein, but I think the key word is service, and the fact that we, as long as we keep in mind that we're here to serve, I think good things happen. So that's all.
Thank you. Ms. Walsh.
Okay, so I prepared my remarks because I tend to wander, and I'm going to wander anyway because the last part of it I didn't quite finish. So in the last couple of years, I asked myself, and anyone who was willing to listen, why would anyone want to be a school board member? I've asked it over and over again in the last 4 years. Why would someone put themselves out there for the criticism that we take, and for just the gotcha mentality of some folks in this county, always trying to catch somebody doing something? That's got to stop. It's crazy. But after asking myself that question, all I had to do was focus on why I personally chose to be a school board member. It was so that I could help the students in Shenandoah County have the best possible opportunities, and that those opportunities would serve them well into adulthood, whatever they chose to do next, whether it was college, trade school, going straight into the workforce. I want them to have every opportunity. It's because of the students. That's why I do this. Someone has got to be here to represent the students that live in our community and the teachers that teach in our community. In addition to the time it takes to attend board meetings, outside board meetings, informational programs, and doing research on our own time, the job takes up headspace. There are so many policy issues that fall on the shoulders of school board members. It is not easy, and it is not a job to be taken lightly. You have to go into the job realizing that you do not know it all, and that you don't know nearly as much as the superintendent, her staff, and the employees of the school system. Listen to them. They live it every day. They have gone to school for it. Most have advanced degrees. Most are required to do a certain amount of continuing education. You have got to accept that they know more than you do when it comes to educating our community's children. You have got to accept that things have changed in society since we were in school. In addition to the usual responsibilities, the previous board and the three of us leaving this month were thrown into the chaos of a global pandemic. It was an unprecedented occurrence, and there was no rule book for how things should go. We had to rely on experts, yes, experts, in their fields to guide us. We had to follow the law. We had to follow directives from the governor. Most of what we were presented with was out of our hands. Hindsight is 20/20, and there are things that probably could have been done other ways. But bottom line, we were flying blind and had to make decisions as the issues came up. Most of the time, we were damned if we did and damned if we didn't. That was exhausting and took up a lot of mental energy. Some things I'm most proud of, thank you, Trey, for asking this question earlier. Top of the list, hiring Dr. Shepard. She is a tremendous leader, and we are lucky to have her. Another thing I'm proud of is that we have, in recent years, had a better working relationship with the Board of Supervisors and have gotten back into the rhythm of funding our CIP needs at an adequate level. Another thing I'm proud of is trying, some years successfully, to get teachers and staff their step increase. I was shocked when I first learned that teachers didn't get a step increase every year. I thought that was a given. So I've worked hard, and I know I haven't succeeded every year, but I've worked hard to try to get back to that. The remaining board members and newly elected board members have said they want to get back to basics and focus on academics, discipline, and help Dr. Shepard with attendance. They want to make sure our kids are succeeding in school, improving in test scores, and that everyone is focused on addressing discipline issues. I challenge you to do that, to support the superintendent in her efforts. I will skip that part. I have a request, and he's not here this evening, so I can't address him directly, but stop FOIA-ing teachers. We are elected officials. We should expect that nothing we do or say is private. It is all public business. But when you FOIA a teacher's text, you take away one of their only means of communication across the county. Teachers don't have planning time anymore, especially at the elementary level. So they often communicate by text. Just stop FOIA-ing teachers. One thing, this is somewhat related because I believe this will be FOIA'd, but Ms. Retz and I have been the bill pay agents for the last 2 years, and if we've had a question about an invoice, we ask for a copy and further explanation. Recently, I noticed that our attorney fees were higher than usual. It was because our staff had to consult the attorneys on some of the FOIA requests because they were so outside of what FOIA is for. They needed to consult with our attorneys. Yes, citizens sometimes have to pay for their FOIA inquiries, but they don't pay our attorneys' fees. They pay our staff person for our staff person's time, but not our attorney's time. And that month it was about $1,000. It was between $1,000 and $1,200. In addition, that we had to pay our attorneys because of FOIA inquiries. The three of us, Marty, Andrew, and I, and the previous board have sometimes been accused of having an agenda, which is sort of funny. I'll sometimes say that student success and well-being in a safe and welcoming environment is what I'm here for. But Andrew has put it very succinctly for the past 4 years. Our only agenda has been what is best for kids. Student success is reliant upon relationships with highly qualified and dedicated teachers and staff. So I'll add that to our agenda. attracting and retaining highly qualified teachers and staff. And I do count principals in with teachers because most of them were teachers and just, have moved on. So that was our only agenda. It was always about the kids. It was always about the staff. I will skip that part. You have what I would call the perfect storm right now. Ms. Retz, you asked me a month ago or so what I had done about facilities. Well, goodness knows I tried 8 years ago to do something about facilities and got run into the ground. But we didn't have that perfect storm. We didn't have a board of supervisors who saw that we needed to work together. The two boards need to work together as one moving forward for facilities, whether it's renovation, just keeping up with equipment maintenance, or building something new. Well, we've got it now. We have an excellent board of supervisors. We have the best superintendent for the job because she did it in Warren County. She knows what she's doing. And hopefully we will have community support because there are some facility needs we have in Shenandoah County, and I hope that you guys will focus on that. Andrew, I want to thank you for your quiet, steadfast wisdom. You can put things much more succinctly than I can. I think most of the time we were thinking the same thing, but you always said it better than I did, so I appreciate that. Marty, my biggest regret since you became a member of the school board was that I believed what other people said about you. And I did not wait to get to know you before passing judgment. And that made our first year and a half really tough. And I apologize for that. I listened to what other people told me I should think of you before I got to know you. And I think you probably got a little bit of that too from some of your friends about me. But that's my biggest regret, because I think we have been able to accomplish some great things together, and I wish it had been that way from the beginning. And I wish I felt comfortable talking to you from the beginning. I wish the next board good luck. There's a lot coming up. I hope you stay focused on the real stuff and don't get lost in the culture war stuff. It takes up so much time, and it's not, most of these issues aren't an issue in Shenandoah County. Please don't get lost in that list of things that's coming. Here's a quote, mostly for Marty and Andrew. Dan gave them this book earlier this year, Profiles in Courage by John Kennedy. To be courageous, these stories make clear, requires no exceptional qualifications, no magic formula, no special combination of time, place, and circumstance. It is an opportunity that sooner or later is presented to us all. Politics, this is sort of political, merely furnishes one arena which imposes special tests of courage. In whatever arena of life one may meet the challenge of courage, whatever may be the sacrifices he faces if he follows his conscience, the loss of his friends, which we dealt with, his fortune, his contentment, even the esteem of his fellow men. Each man must decide for himself the course he will follow. The stories of past courage can define that ingredient. They can teach, they can offer hope, they can provide inspiration, but they cannot supply courage itself. For this, each man must look into his own soul. And I firmly believe that you two gentlemen have done that in your 4 years. Going back to how I started this, why would anybody want to run for school board office? Why would anybody be here? And it's the same as what I said at the beginning. I sometimes express my frustration to friends who were teachers, and then I'd feel bad about it later because I should have said, I do it for you. Someone has to represent you. You have chosen to live and work in Shenandoah County. You have chosen to raise your kids here. We value you and we want to keep you here. And that's why I did this job. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Mr. Keller.
Thank you, yes. Wow. I started working on this about Halloween, and it sat on my computer, and I would add to it, subtract things, and I never turned my computer off. I just kept on, like that. So I mean, it was good too. I used words in here that Dennis would have to look up afterwards. So, but it's gone. It disappeared sometime yesterday. It is off in the ether somewhere. Tim, maybe one day we can find it. No, I don't want it. So I was left with an option here, and that was either to try to rewrite what I'd written, or just kind of let it happen organically. So let me start here. Some of it I wanted to rewrite because I wanted to make sure that I got this right. I want to thank Dr. Melody Shepard. I'm proud to have been part of the committee that helped to select you as our superintendent. I said to that group, I think on the onset, that I thought you would be a good candidate and make a good superintendent. And I believe in the end I've underestimated you. You've been an outstanding superintendent, and your contributions to our school and our students are immeasurable, and I appreciate working with you, really do. Dr. Heingardner, I want to thank you for your leadership and insight. As a fellow product of Shenandoah County Public Schools, I am most appreciative of what you do and how you do it. You've been the North Star for our school division, and certainly for this board, and we're lucky to have you. There's an incredible group of people that work here in our central office. Your value and your professionalism are, I guess, unfortunately not commensurate with your pay and recognition. Trust me when I tell you this, that we cannot do, or that this cannot be done without you. You're a great group of people, sincerely are. My colleagues on this board, each of you have been an advocate for our students and our teachers, and it's been a pleasure to work with you. It's not always been easy, but things of great importance probably aren't always easy anyway. They shouldn't be. We have taken the time to work through problems, and I think we've been successful in doing that. And I appreciate each and every one of you. I'll share with you this golf analogy. I used to play golf with this guy that every time we got to the 18th tee box, he would say, "This is the hole I've been looking for." This is the hole I've been looking for. And usually it was after a particularly bad round, but I guess this is the meeting that I've been looking for. And I say that, I guess, with some regret, because in a sense, I think what I'm saying is that I've kind of reached my shelf life. Or the milk has gone bad, okay? I looked the other day, I thought, I started public school when I was 6 years old, and not 1 year has gone by in my life that I have not been involved in some way or another in public education since I was 6. Now, put that in perspective, I think Lyndon Johnson was president. Ronald Reagan was governor of California, and Priscilla just married Elvis. So, Marty, you probably were finishing up your second or third year teaching. No, I'm just. So, I've been at it a long time, and I've seen a lot of changes. And perhaps it's time it is time to pass it on to younger people. Mike, you're so much younger than me. Not really, but we'll see. Yeah, it is the time to do that. But this has been a tough job. At one point, I described it as a calamity replaced by a catastrophe, swapped for a disaster, with the potential of a tragedy always looming. And I wasn't talking about my golf game, although it's very similar to that. It was this job. And if you don't believe me, y'all look at my inbox. It is full of guttural reactions in the passions of our community. And if you don't believe me, ask every one of those people sitting up here. They'll tell you the same thing. Regardless of which side of which issue they were on, they got it. They got it. And through all those reactions in passions, in emotions, we still were charged with our vows and our duties. And that was to do the very best we can according to our abilities. So help us God. Remember, we all said that. Well, I can tell you this, that while I don't have a whole lot of talents and abilities, I can't tell you one thing about military strategy, and you would not want me on the farm with you. But I do have an idea of education in what goes into teaching our kids. When I say that, I don't mean my kids or your kids. I mean our kids, the collective bunch of them. Those that pass in our hallways every day, that play on Friday nights, that are in the band or debate team or whatever program that we've allowed them to be a part of because of programs that we've created. Those are our kids. And some of our kids have some really tough stories. That's one thing I really noticed that you don't hear about these things. They don't play on Friday nights necessarily, or they're not the homecoming king or queen, and they are subjected to a whole sort of things that would make even the hardest adult have a problem, and yet these types of problems are bestowed upon our most vulnerable people in our community. And together, we mix that group in those other kids and all their talents and traits into one big bag, and that's public education. And we're charged with teaching every one of them. And we're expected from the day that they enter kindergarten or preschool till the time that they turn their tassels to make sure that they are successful. And if they're not, we're held accountable for it. Okay? That's the way it is. That's the way it is. I will tell you that I think that the best environment is one in which the school and the community both come together, and they are going to merge to create this great dynamic school environment for kids. That's when it works. That's when it's great. And there are a lot of success stories like that. So I think in the last couple years, I think bringing parents back into the fold has been a mantra of sorts. I don't think they were ever excluded. Certainly they weren't asked to be excluded, but I'm all for it, because when parents are united behind their schools, then great things can happen. So, we need to make sure that we're continuing that course, encouraging parents to be involved in everything that kids are doing. I've been a little organic here, I guess, in rambling, but yet I want to share with you one story that I've kind of held in my pocket here for 4 years. I hope I haven't come out and told a whole lot of shop stories. I didn't intend to, but this one I wanted to share. It's about the best teacher that I ever knew. Best teacher, and I'm talking about from the time I was 6 years old until now. The best teacher that I have known. And she taught language arts, reading, writing, literature, and had been teaching for quite some time when I started teaching in Warren County several years ago. So this is a dated story. She was a master of her trade. She was very abreast about the current trends in education and knew all the teaching experts and their strategies and philosophies. And year after year, her students had the highest test scores. I mean, the test scores at that time were probably some Flanagan thing that they were probably before SOLs. Her kids always scored well in that. She had the fewest discipline referrals. I mean, you talk about the accolades. This came from her class. Her students genuinely loved her, and she was going to retire about the time I was getting my master's degree. So I had some interest in teaching and learning, and I asked her. I said, "Give me one thing that you can attribute your success to and your students' success to." And hey, I know that there was more than one thing. There had to be more than one thing that she had. But I didn't want it any more than that, because she was the type of person that would give me a mini lesson on classroom strategies in this particular guru. But I was surprised at what she told me. She told me that her one secret was this. It was ensuring that every one of her students felt important. And I thought, well, that sounds nice. But how do you go about doing that? How do you make sure that every student in your class feels important? And she said that at the beginning of the school year, she would seek out that student that was the lowest functioning, that had the least number of resources, and the poorest self-esteem. And she worked hard to make sure that that student experienced success right away. She felt that every kid in that classroom, regardless of their ability level, benefited from seeing that kid strive and be successful. I think she said something to the nature of a rising tide lifts all ships, which I guess, in that respect, it does. And so I asked her, I said, well, where did this strategy come from? And I thought I was going to get my mini lesson right there. And she simply looked at me, and I'll never forget this. She said, "I got it from the greatest teacher ever." And that was the end of the conversation. Now, I think contextually I knew what she meant, but it wasn't until the next day that I understood precisely what she meant, because I went to my mailbox in the teacher's lounge, and there was an index card, I still have it to this day, and she had written on it Matthew 25 verses 31 through 46. Okay? And when I got home, I looked at that, I looked it up, and it said, "Just as you did it to one of the least of these who are members of my family, you did it to me." And I thought, that's powerful words from a teacher that's going to retire and has impacted so many kids. I will leave you with that. And I will say once again that I've enjoyed working with every one of you here. It's been fun. It's been real. But it hadn't been real fun. That's something like that. Thank you.
Andrew, I'm impressed with your closing. That's a good story.
Well, it's a good thing I'd still be going if I could find that.
That's a very good story. We all can think about our best teacher we had through when we were 6 and whatever. All right, I don't think mine's going to last as long as Andrew. But going back with Cindy, why did I run for this position? I did not intend to run for this position. But I had 3 close friends, Milson and Bonnie French and Larry Vance, called me and said, "You need to follow the motto of Virginia Tech." And that is, it's Latin, but I'm going to give you an English, that I may serve. So I decided to run, and in 20, we already talked about the pandemic and whatever. We had big challenges, whatever. And since Cindy mentioned about FOIA requests, I'm probably the king up here about FOIA requests. And it's disturbing. I know what the law is. I know what the law is. And I was lax with it. And they took me to court. And I was served coming out of the VFW talking to a student who graduated from Mountain View, and I asked him what he thought about the name change. And there they were in the parking lot. And I had the summons in my hand. And I drove straight here, and I went to the second floor, and I told Miss Jett over there, I want you to type something up. I'm going to resign at the end of the meeting tonight. And Cheryl said, no, you're not. And then Dr. Shepard came and told me as well, you're not resigning. And I'm glad I didn't. Because they would have won. They wanted me to resign so they could appoint someone to get a fourth vote to put the name back. All right, so that's round one of FOIA requests. Now FOIA requests on my text on my personal phone about the school board election. The two candidates that I supported obviously did not win, but I thought they were the best candidate. And Tim Taylor spent 2.5 hours looking at my phone, taking screenshots of those texts that went to the two candidates. I agree with Cindy. Something has to give on FOIA requests. And you wonder why people do not run for public office? There it is. Who would want to go through that? But I stuck it out, and I'm glad I did. Okay, accomplishments, where we already talked about. Dr. Shepard is on board. And Andrew knew her before the previous board hired her, but she will not take credit for the success. She refers to the people in this building. Some of them are here, some of them are upstairs tomorrow, whatever. She never takes credit. And I served on 2 superintendents, but I taught with many. You will not find a better superintendent in Virginia or in the country. You tell me another superintendent who we made a change in outsourcing the cafeterias that would go down and wash trays in a school cafeteria. No one would do that. I went down, and it was hard work for a day, standing in one place for 2 hours. But the kids coming in line were respectful. They stood there. There was not a lot of commotion. All right. And the other accomplishments, and I took my job seriously. A cafeteria worker called me and said there was no AC in the kitchens of our building. I said, I find that hard to believe. I went down the next morning. We started early. It was 80-some degrees in there by 8 o'clock. There was no AC. That has been corrected. We approved weekday religious education. And 100 students are getting that type of training off campus a couple times a week. And just by accident, there was no softball lights at the southern campus. They haven't been any since we started in the late 86. Dr. Heingardner, is that right? 82. That is in violation of federal code. But our previous superintendent said the campuses are the same. That was not true. That was not true. So we got softball lights, and Dr. Shepard threw out the first pitch. If you want to see a photograph, make an appointment. She has a picture in her office with the two umpires that did the game. And since we talked about Dr. Shepard's staff, and Andrew mentioned Dr. Heingarten over here, I taught him science when he was 13 at Central High School. And it's amazing how things turn around. Then I taught her daughter at Muhlenberg. To the new school board, you need to keep the staff intact if you want to continue. And I wrote down whatever. Shenandoah County Public Schools is stronger today than when we took office. And I seriously believe that, and will. And since we have Mr. Austin here, I took some heat during the budget issue from my two colleagues.
I took it too.
I met with her Friday one-on-one, which she did monthly, and she said, Marty, we don't have enough money. We're about $900,000 short. And I said, okay. And I left this building on a Friday afternoon, and I contacted or talked to her about all 6 of them, and we'll look at it Monday morning. Carl was out of the, it was in New England. And I appreciate that you came up with the money. And one of my former students sent me a text who works in Rockingham County, and she used this line in her email, As a first-year teacher, I never mailed the Rockingham County Public School Board and tell them, but knowing they have my back and being a huge confidence builder, I truly has crossed my mind multiple times in this month, in my first month of teaching in Rockingham. I went to bat for our employees so that Dr. Shepard, we would have enough money. And we had extra to hire another resource officer. I went to bat. Personally, I know I should have went to the board. I had 4 days. And I'm glad I pursued that. So, to the new school board members and the 3 that are still here, do what is best for Shenandoah County Public Schools. Keep it going in the right direction. And again, I emphasize, you need to keep this staff together. On that note, we adjourn at 8:33.